All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on a language that honestly powers a huge chunk of the web. We're talking everything from your favorite blogs to massive social networks. So if you've ever wanted to build websites that can actually do stuff, this is your starting point. Okay, let's dive right into the world of PHP. So, have you ever stopped and wondered how a website greets you by your actual name? Or how your shopping cart somehow remembers everything you've added, even when you come back a day later? You know, it's not magic, but it is something happening behind the scenes, way before that page ever loads on your screen. Well, that secret ingredient, it's called server-side scripting. And today, we're going to explore one of the most popular, most widely used tools for the job, PHP. It's really the key that unlocks all those dynamic, interactive experiences we just expect from the modern web. So, first things first, what in the world is PHP? Let's get a really clear definition and see how it transforms a plain old static web page into something way more powerful and interesting. Okay, so PHP officially stands for Hypertext Processor. It's an open source language, which really just means it's free for anyone to use and it's maintained by a whole community of developers. But the most important part of that definition, the part you really need to remember, is the phrase runs on the server. This means all the heavy lifting, like say fetching your user profile or checking a product's inventory, it all happens on a powerful web server before a single piece of content gets sent to your browser. Now, this is probably the biggest point of confusion for new developers, so let's use an analogy. Think about it like a restaurant. PHP is the chef back in the kitchen. They prepare your entire meal based on your order, doing all the hard work behind the scenes. JavaScript, on the other hand, that's like the waiter coming to your table and asking if you'd like a sprinkle of pepper after the main dish has already arrived. They're both super important for the whole experience, but they work in completely different places at totally different times. All right, that's enough theory. How do you actually start writing PHP? Well, the good news is getting a development environment up and running on your own computer is way easier than it used to be. Let's walk through the basic tools you're going to need. You know, we can really just break this down into 3 simple steps. First, you need a local server package. Something like XAMPP is great because it bundles the server, the database, and PHP all in one go. Second, you got to grab a modern code editor, like VS Code. Trust me, it'll make your life a lot easier. And finally, just pop open your terminal and run a quick command, php-v. That'll confirm you're all set up and ready to code. And that's it. Okay, our workshop is all set up. Now it's time to actually learn a few words of the language. The great thing about PHP is that it has a pretty straightforward syntax that's actually easy to pick up once you get the core rules down. So here are the 4 absolute essentials you need to know. First, your PHP code always lives inside these special tags. Second, variables, which are basically just containers for information, they always start with a $sign. Third, the echo command, that's your go-to for printing something out to the screen. And finally, those 2 forward slashes let you leave notes for yourself right in the code that the computer will just completely ignore. So let's see how this all comes together in a real example. Right? Imagine this little snippet of code is sitting inside a standard HTML file. We open up our PHP tags, we create a variable called $greeting to hold our text, and then we use echo to print that variable right inside an h1 heading tag. So when this runs, the server processes all that PHP and just sends the final clean HTML to the browser, which simply reads, "Hello, visitor." Pretty simple, right? Okay, this is where PHP really starts to shine. We're moving beyond just printing out some pre-written text and into the world of truly interactive web applications that can actually listen and respond to users. So what do we even mean by dynamic? Well, it means your website isn't just a static brochure anymore. It's a two-way conversation. It means it can process the information from a contact form, it can keep a user logged in as they browse different pages, and this is the real superpower. It can read and write information from a database. And a database is really just an organized collection of data, kind of like a giant, super smart spreadsheet. Now, I know, talking to a database might sound really complex, but it follows a very logical pattern every single time. First, you connect to it. It's like making a phone call. Then you query it by asking a very specific question, something like, hey, find all the users from New York. Then you display whatever results it sends back to you. And finally, you close the connection, just to be tidy and free up resources. It's those 4 fundamental steps, every time. So once you've mastered the basics, you're going to find that you're writing a lot of the same code over and over again for things like security or database connections. That's where frameworks come in. Think of them like a professional toolkit that helps you build big applications much, much faster.
Now look, you definitely don't need to learn these on day one, but it's really good to know they exist. Frameworks like Laravel, which is known for its beautiful syntax, or Symfony, which is amazing for its reusable parts, they give you pre-built solutions for all those common tasks. And that means you can focus on building your app's unique features instead of reinventing the wheel every single time. They can be an absolutely massive productivity boost once you're comfortable with the basics.
So we've covered a ton of ground, from the initial setup to syntax to databases, but if there's just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this: you learn by doing. These concepts will truly click once you start building things, breaking things, and then figuring out how to fix them. That's where the real learning happens. And really, that brings us to the final question. You now have the foundational knowledge to make a web page do pretty much anything you can imagine. So think about it. A blog, a portfolio with a working contact form, maybe a simple tracker for your favorite hobby. What are you going to build first?